Hello everyone, welcome to Code with Cougar. In the previous video, we learned about some basic fundamental concepts regarding C#. We learned about data types, we learned about variables, constants, etc. So for this video, we're going to talk about overflow concept in C#. So I have already created a new project under our solution. So in the previous video, we used this project. So I have already created a new project named Overflowing C# under the C#.NET solution. As you guys know, in order to create a new project under this solution, we right click on the solution and go to add and select new project. I have already selected our new project as a startup project. We can see that name of the project is bold. I did it by right clicking to the project and select set as a startup project. Okay, so let's go to our this new project and let's open the program.cs file. Here we can see our main function. As we all know that main function is the entry point of each program. When we execute our program, the execution starts from this main program and each line sequentially gets executed. So I have already written some code. Let me paste that here so that we can talk about. So we are going to talk about overflowing in C#. Okay, before talking about overflowing in C#, in the previous video we saw that each data type has its own max value and min value they can hold. For example, byte can take 1 byte of memory location, and this byte data type can hold values from 0 to 255. Integer was taking like 4 bytes in memory. It can hold integer values from range of -2 billion to positive 2 billion. So each data type in C#, they have a property associated with them. The property is called main value and also max value. We can access this property by writing the data type name dot the property main value and the max value. It's going to show the minimum and maximum values a specific data type can hold. For example, byte. So I have used a console.writeLine to print the output. I have used a string, and also using the string format, I have used placeholders. If you guys don't know, so I'm gonna talk about in a separate video. I will be talking about string formats in C#. So what it is basically going to do, it's going to print max byte min equal to. Then we have a placeholder. It is going to hold a value. So we provide curly braces and a number. So this number 0 is going to be referred to the first value we provide after our string format. We provide a comma, then the first argument we pass to the writeLine function. The value of this argument is going to be placed in this 0th location, and the second value is going to be placed in the placeholder number 1. Okay, if we have more values, we can have placeholder number 2, number 3, like that. Okay, so it's going to print byte min equal to. It's going to get this value from min value and put it here, and max value equal to, it's going to take the value from this one. So in order to prevent console application from closing, let's write a console.read line, okay, or read, to keep the console application open or the console window open. Let's run our project. We can click on this play button or run button, or we can press Control F5, or for some keyboards it may be function keyword plus F5. Okay, so let's run our project and see what it is printing. So it prints that byte minimum value is 0 and maximum value it can hold is 255. Integer value is like 2.1 billion, and the maximum value is 2.1 billion. Okay, let's copy this one. Hope if I can copy that. I think I'm not able. Okay, no problem. So these are the way that we can see the maximum and minimum values that a data type can hold. So let me comment out all these lines of code. To comment out multiple lines of code, we select those lines of code and click on this comment out the selected lines, okay, or we can press Control K. Okay, let's click on that. It's going to comment out these lines of code. So let's talk about overflowing in C#. What basically overflowing is, arithmetic overflow happens when you perform an operation with the data type and the result of this operation exceeds the size of the storage of this data type. Okay, so basically overflowing is happens to variables. When we select a data type for a variable, we basically limiting the variable to a certain parameters in terms of what type of data they can hold, or what it is maximum and minimum value it is going to be. If we select a byte as our data type, so we are limiting that variable that it can hold only values from 0 to 255, and the type of the value is going to be integer numbers. So let's have a byte variable, let's call it number or b number. Let's call it b number or byte number equal to 255 is the maximum value that we can store in a byte data type. So let us print our b number. If we run our project, it's going to print 255. So let's try to increment this b number by 1 and make it 256. So that shouldn't be possible. If we try to increment it by 1, so we are actually exceeding the boundary of the byte data type. We are going over to 55, so it's going to reset this variable back to 0. So if we run our program, we get 0. Okay, we don't want that in our program. We don't want in the runtime, if the user try to exceed the limit of the data type, we don't want to set our variable back to 0 or the initial value. So that's going to affect all our calculation. To prevent that, we have a keyword in C# that's called check keyword. The check keyword in C# is basically used to explicitly enable overflow checking for integral type arithmetic operations and conservation. So basically, if we try to put this line of code inside a check block, that will prevent overflowing, and instead it will raise an exception and our program will crash. Okay, let us define a check variable, checked. Inside this curly braces, we put our code. So let us b number plus plus. Right now, this check block is going to check whether we are exceeding the boundaries of this data type. If so, it's going to throw an exception. So exceptions are a broad concept in C#. In future videos, we are going to in detail talk about what exceptions are, so how to handle exceptions. So exceptions basically happens when an error occurs in our program and it crashes our programs. In order to prevent our program from crashing, we can handle those exceptions. So we are not going to talk about exception handling and stuff in this video. In the future video, we can see an example of how the exceptions are raised and how we can handle them to prevent our program from crash. Okay, let's run our program right now. As we can see, our program crashed and stopped execution. It says arithmetic operation result and system overflow exception. Okay, it threw a system overflow exception. So we can basically handle this exception and prevent our program from crashing and give a proper message to the user that you have reached the limit of byte number, so please enter a lower number or something like that. Okay, so this was a basic concept about overflowing in C#. So as a C# developer, so this is a basic fundamental concept that you should know, specifically when we are dealing with trying to limit our variable types down to minimum size of memory. When we are dealing to have smaller memories of data types, so if we use an integer instead of bytes, so we don't care about that because integer can hold up to 2 billion number. But if we are dealing with smaller numbers and we want to use a smaller data type, so it's a fundamental concept as a C# developer that you should know. So in the next video, we're going to talk about different C# fundamental concepts. Thank you for watching, guys. Please don't forget to subscribe to Code with Cougar, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.